Hello and welcome back. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be talking about agility and what it really means. And obviously, I'm giving away part of my punchline here and saying that agile is not a noun. But let's get started. Agile. What does it mean? Here's a definition that I grabbed off of I think it was Merriam-Webster's website. Agile is an adjective that says the ability to move quickly and easily, being able to move. Agile was as Ruth, I'm sorry, Ruth was as agile as a monkey. Agile was Ruth as a monkey. Ruth was as agile as a monkey. So it's the ability to adapt quickly, to jump and move and quickly get around, right? The definition that I like to say for organizations and talking about agility within your business systems, it's the ability to adapt to changes as fast or faster than the changes occur within your context. Before we move on to that next slide, I want to talk about what your context means. So here we could be talking about changes in your customers' needs, the way they perceive what they need. We could be talking about advances in technology. So if you are developing new products, what's the innovation in your market? What is the underlying technology that you're building on, and how fast is that changing? You need to be adapting and taking advantage of the new features that are available whenever there's a new innovation in your underlying platforms. Or maybe it's innovation in your market. Today, there's disruption happening in every market, and it's quite possible that there's a disruptive element happening in your industry. Software is always being disrupted with new models, new businesses, new approaches to doing business. So the idea is it's any change that could be happening out there. We'll talk about this a little bit more towards the end of this section. So the word agile is actually used to mean, I find, one of four different things. It either means nimble, the ability to adapt quickly, or people use it to mean basically any 21st century management practice. And that's, things like empowering people, engaging people, getting them to be a part, treating people with respect. All of these things are just good 21st century management. They're not the way people used to manage, but they're the way you need to manage today in the 21st century. The other thing that they will mean is agility enabling practices. So things like iterative and incremental releases. That's agility enabling, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're agile. I can still deliver in iterations or in increments and not be agile. We'll talk about that in just a little bit here about how you measure agility. And there's also, people will use it to talk about the agile movement. So the development of the Agile Manifesto and the whole movement of trying to get people in organizations to adopt this way of thinking, this 21st century management thinking, and these agility enabling practices. But the word agile is an adjective, and it means nimble. Agile is not a noun. These are some buttons that I had made and gave away at a conference one year. But I want to really drive this home. When the word agile becomes a noun and you start using it as a noun, you actually lose a lot of the value that you could get if you really understood the broader understanding of the broader context of what it means, what you're driving for with agility. You're not saying, hey, we're an organization that does stand-ups, right? Just because you do stand-ups doesn't mean that you are nimble, you're agile. So here's a challenge for you. I challenge you to, for the next week, in your discussions and in your interactions, don't use the word agile. Substitute the word nimble, because it doesn't have the baggage associated with it that the word agile does. Substitute the word nimble and use that and see all the places, you'll see all the different places then that you're using the word to mean something else, right? You'll find yourself in a conversation saying, yes, in our company we do nimble. And you'll be like, do nimble? That does not make any sense. Well, neither does saying you do agile. You either are agile or you're not. We do agility enabling practices. We do 21st century management. We are nimble as a result of those things. So try it for a week. Use the word nimble instead of the word agile. I'll use the word nimble off and on throughout this entire course. I prefer it to the word agile because it shakes people up. It breaks their patterns and helps them see and hear what they're talking about in a new light. So we talked about being able to change as fast or faster than the changes that are happening in your context. This is something that I like to call innovation cycles. You need to understand what the innovation cycle is within your industry. If the innovation or change cycle is this blue square, horizontally, that's time, right? And each one of these blocks is a change cycle or an innovation cycle. Then this is the speed of change in your organization or in your context. It might be that your customers are making these kinds of quick changes, or it might be that the underlying technologies are making these kinds of quick changes, or the businesses or your competitors are moving this fast, right? If this is the change cycle in your organization, and this is your build cycle for being able to create and deliver products and services to your industry, are you agile? And the answer, obviously, is no, right? Because your build cycle is twice as long as your change cycle. In this case, you are not agile. You could be doing all of the agile practices. You could be doing daily stand-ups. You could be delivering iteratively and incrementally. You could be using Scrum. You could have hired Scrum Masters, and everybody is using Jira or whatever piece of software because it's the agile management software. You're still not agile if you're not changing as fast or faster than your change cycle. This is critical. This is why I say we need to focus on agile is not a noun, people. We need to use the term as it is supposed to be in the English language and not let it morph, which it has. I mean, it's morphed into a noun, but I want you to try and not use it that way. Think about it as being nimble. Now, if I were to shorten up my build cycles, now I am agile. And here's the trick. If I shorten up my build cycles and can deliver working, innovative products, every one of these build cycles that's equal to or less than the change cycle that's happening in my industry, and I prefer it to be shorter than the change cycle because then you get an edge on the market. But if I am delivering that fast, I don't have to be using Scrum or doing daily stand-ups or using XP, or doing pairing, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, as long as I am able to change as faster than the changes that are happening in my context, I am agile. Now, those other things will make it easier to change faster, no doubt whatsoever, but they are not what make or break you being agile. What makes or breaks you being agile is your ability to adapt. So use Scrum, don't use Scrum, I don't care. What I care about is helping you move as fast as the changes that are happening in your context. Think about Sony, for example. In the 1970s, their innovation cycle was about 9. I heard this example from a speaker, and their innovation cycle was about 9 years. That was back when they developed the Walkman, right? It was 79, actually, when the Sony Walkman was developed. So they had a 9-year innovation cycle. That means that at that time, they needed to come out with an innovative, new, disruptive something every 9 years. And so to come up with the Walkman, a small audio device with small speakers going in your ears, when everything in the 70s, if you were around then, if not, look it up in some history books, I was around then, everything was big. Speakers were big, stereos were big, bigger was better, right? I have the biggest speakers in the dorm. I have the biggest stereo system in the dorm, and suddenly Sony comes out with this tiny little Walkman. You can put your audio cassettes in. It wasn't even a CD player at that point. You can put your little audio cassettes in it and play them. And this was disruptive innovation at the time. Nobody had anything like it. And they had 9 years to create another big disruptive innovation like that. Now, hopscotch forward to the 80s, the time that the innovation cycle was around 7 years. 90s, it dropped down to 4.5 years. 2000s, it was about 6 months. Now, right, in the teens, 20 teens, you need to be innovating every couple of months if you are in that electronics industry. The electronics industry, not just the software industry, the electronics industry. Sony needs to be innovating at a new product every few months. That is remarkable. Now, it may be that they're innovating in the software that on the hardware platform, but they still need to be innovating every few months. If you think about how often you get a new release of software for your phone. Here is a timeline of Apple's history. And if you look at, I couldn't find any timelines actually that showed what I'm talking about as far as the speed of innovation uplifting like that. But you can see it here in the product release of the Apple II, right, in 77. And then the next big innovation was 84. And then 91 is the PowerBook. And then, yeah, the Newton, that bombed. But then as you get closer to today, the contemporary timeline, you're looking at mostly what they're innovating on is the iPhone platform and in the software that goes within the iPhone. So they'll do a new release of the iPhone every year or so, but they will innovate the software much more rapidly than that. So you can see that it's increasing in speed over time here. So how do you calculate your innovation cycle? Well, here are 8 suggested areas to think about. You may think of others within your business and your industry and your market, but here are 8 that I have come up with. And what you want to do is look at your customers and list out here the most recent, so put a date there for the most recent customer innovation, right? When was it that they asked for a new feature that was like, oh, we don't have that yet. Nobody in the industry has that. And the customers are clamoring for it. When was the last time? And then prior to that, when was the one before that they asked for a new feature? You might not have this information because you might not be tracking it, but you should be. As a business, as an industry, you should be tracking all 8 of these at least. Think about your market, right? If you are in the electronics market like Sony or Apple, you need to be thinking about what is the innovation cycle in your market and when was the last major innovation and when was the last major innovation before that. Think about your competitors. When were their last big releases of products, software or hardware, if you're in that electronics market, just using that as an example. What about channels? When was the last innovation in developing a new channel for product delivery or marketing or whatever? What is the channel that you're using and when was that innovated? Because you need to be able to meet that timeline. What about your partners, other partner organizations? What is their innovation cycle? Right? When was their last major innovation and when was the major innovation before that? What about business models? When was the last business model innovation in your industry and the one before that? How about technologies? The underlying technology that you build your technology on top of. So if you're electronics, then the question is, what is the semiconductor innovation cycle? And how can you take advantage of the semiconductor innovation cycle? What about your product platform, right? If it's the software that's sitting on. It's kind of different between technology and platform, but they're similar. So take those, do a diff, and in the last column here on the right, put the number of months or years in that change cycle. Now, drop to the bottom the shortest one of those timelines, and that will give you your change cycle. How fast you need to be iterating, how fast you need to be innovating. If you are meeting it, awesome. Don't back off. Become the driver. If you're not, you need to shorten up your innovation cycle and get products and services out to your customers faster and be thinking about ways you can do that. All right, that's all about creating your agility within your organization, understanding what it means to be nimble. Remember that Agile is not a noun. Try for 1 week to use nimble instead of the word agile, and drop me an email. Let me know how it goes. What did you do? What did you find? What did it sound like? Let me know what that's like. All right. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.